What's up, guys? Welcome to the In the Blind podcast. Today we have Mr. Secondhand John, John
Yes,
Vesely, Secondhand Serenade,
that's right.
a dear friend and extremely talented musician and a pop culture icon.
Jesus.
Uh,
Absolutely.
you
I
know,
mean,
privileged to have you on, man. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us.
thanks, brother. It's great to be here. Great to be with friends.
Absolutely.
I've known both of you guys for quite a while.
Yeah, for a
So
long time.
yeah,
That's one of been
Nashville.
one of the fun things. Eric and I were chatting about this earlier today. Is that all of our guests so far we've known them. Lauren Watkins was on earlier, and she was like our first one that we didn't really know that well. But it's been it's been pretty easy doing the show with my buddies.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
You just sit down and feel like you're catching up with an old friend as opposed to running through a list of questions
exactly.
and like
Yeah.
trying to
Well, I
be
mean, Nashville's a
structured.
small town. Feels like a small town. It's not
Well,
really a
the-
small town anymore, but
Yeah.
the community we're in though is still pretty tight knit.
it's super
You know,
tight.
the
Yeah.
music community and the entertainment community and hospitality kind of all intertwined here in Nashville. And I think all those people are very tight knit, and we kind of stick together and look out for each other. And it's a pretty cool thing what the city is kind of developed into, and it's grown. It's obviously, you hate to lose some of the old things that made it really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
but change is inevitable for one, and you can't stop progression. And all you can do is imprint what you want onto it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what we're trying to do with the podcast. And I know you've done with your music over the years. You got a really crazy story. I've known you and know about you and how you got your start and stuff. And you really did it, bro. Like boots on the ground. Like John really did it himself. And
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about how you got started and just the work you put in. I know out of your home and
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah. So, like it all started in high school, just like playing in garage bands. Like that's like, anybody who's like in love with music understands like it's something that you can never put like behind you in your life. Like
Yeah.
once you get like caught up with it, like
you love it.
you're gonna do it whether you do it professionally or not. So, I was playing music in high school and eventually got to this point that
You're a West Coast kid.
yeah,
San
California,
San
San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah.
But I was like, trying to find a band. Like every band I was ever in either fell apart or like I got kicked out of one band because I was the bass player and the guitar player was like secretly trying to get his brother to play bass for the band, and so.
You learned about band politics
Yeah,
pretty early.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and then I learned that it's just not working for me to be in a band, and so I started just switched to guitar and started playing acoustic, and mostly because I wanted to play to a chick, play to a
right.
girl, play a song,
Yeah.
and nobody's gonna be like really impressed with me playing like a bass lick. So, but yeah, I kept on playing, and then I had I was in a relationship and I had a baby when I was very young. So we were pregnant when I was 19 years old.
Oh wow.
And so I had to like cut back on school and start working. I was working 2 jobs and still trying to play in the background,
Yeah.
which like there's not a lot of time, but
It's tough.
I would, write songs on receipt paper. I worked at Neiman Marcus at the time.
Wow.
And I would just like, that doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. So it's like
Yeah.
usually like appointments or people coming in, very few and far between. But I'd write songs on receipt paper. I'd just be in the gene room and like play music on the little boombox, and that's where I did my work. And then eventually it got to a point that I had to choose. I had to either like go full force and try to support the family, or somehow make it in music. And I basically asked. I talked to my parents and I talked to my wife at the time, and I was like, "Look, just give me a year. Let me record one record. If it doesn't work out,
I'll dig
fuck
in
it, and
whatever."
I'll do what I absolutely have to do." And so I, kind of spent whatever savings I had, and my dad helped me out too to get studio time for that first record. And I went in. I had 2 weeks to record the whole record
Wow.
and mix it. It was 2 weeks for
Well, and
both.
you're doing it all yourself. Too,
Yeah,
right?
well, I was
Yeah.
basically I just had an engineer in there, and so so I recorded the record and put it up online, put it up on MySpace, and then it just started. I don't know, kind of
Catching traction,
blown
yeah.
up. Yeah, I was like packaging CDs myself, and after like 6 months, I could quit my job because I was making, like double at that time what I was at
Yeah.
work. So I kind of went full force into that, and it kept going.
It's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, it was kind of wild. I would just like watch CSI and just like sit there packaging CDs, like like.
I mean, I don't know many artists with a story like that. Where
It's
they
just
were like literally selling their
super
CDs.
grassroots, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that's I didn't have anybody else to work with me. I mean, eventually,
Right.
like I got a great manager that I've been with ever since, which has been a long time.
Oh, so you're
And
still
then-
with that manager?
Yeah, I'm still with that manager. I've had the same team for a long time, but honestly, it's just about being with people you trust. Like
For sure.
you work it out and you work your ass off, but you have to have people you trust because there's other situations where I've known people get really screwed.
Yeah, there's a lot of grubby hands in the,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
music
you can
business,
say
man.
that.
And then a
Do you
lot
think
of-
having a manager and that kind of consistency has helped with your consistency
Absolutely.
career wise?
Yeah,
staying relevant.
Like, I went to his wedding, he went to my wedding. Like, we've spent time with each other's kids. Like, we're
awesome.
close. Like, it's like family. I mean, it's been like 16 years. at
Is
this
he based out of California?
point. He's in New York.
Oh, New York.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Very cool.
That's the cool thing about MySpace is like most people in this day and age don't even know what
but
it is. But I mean,
it was so
it was
fucking
huge.
Cool. It was so cool because like it's still the only platform that's figured out how to like all that like HTML shit that they like let you like change the look of your page. I mean that was like it's ruined.
Yeah.
But like as far as its integration with like new music and
Music,
up and coming artists, there's never been a platform that did what it did. I mean, even to the simple like idea of having a media player on your page,
Yeah.
playing whatever like song that you found, and everybody
Yeah.
was like at that time they were so pumped about I know this artist before you do. Like
Right.
and so that was such a big deal. And so they'd put that song on their page and that was like literally most of the growth that I had came from that. People like here and they'd be like, who the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
okay, they'd check it out and it would go directly to my page.
Well,
Yeah.
and that, it paved the way for Apple Music and Spotify and all the streaming services because it was the first place where you could go and find music and bands online, like and see
Yeah, and
see
they had
them,
the charts,
Yeah.
and they
see
had
the,
charts,
be
dude.
able to click on the info and see who the writers are and who the, that MySpace. And then MySpace originally, I feel like it started out as more of a social media platform.
Yeah.
And then when Facebook came along, it moved into this really cool, place where you go to find music and new bands. And,
Yeah.
I mean,
and new
I
artists.
discovered all kinds of new music back then. I was trying to explain to my son the other night what Facebook was back then. I was like, you had to have a college email
EDU.
address to
Yeah,
sign
yeah,
up
yeah,
for
yeah.
it, and it was specific to the school you went to. And MySpace was really the first real social media type thing, a place where you could go and discover
Your top
music.
12 friends. Like
That's how me and Steven got our first record deal. That's how Taylor Swift discovered our music and brought us on tour with her. Like
Wow.
it was because of MySpace. Like I remember our tour banner had myspace.com/love and theft on it, and
Yeah.
like all the pictures of us on tour with Taylor Swift have our MySpace in the background. And
It's so sick. I mean,
was
like
incredible.
It's such an incredible. And they had the secret shows.
yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
played a MySpace secret show with From First to Last in Hawthorne Heights, and it was just like
that's cool.
it was like a crazy like. I mean, it was like a sweat box. It was like
Yeah.
a closet type of thing, like, but it was invite only. And
Right.
I mean, like that kind of stuff was so fun and like so exciting for the community.
And really cool content.
Yeah.
People
Oh,
don't
like-
get to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember my top 8. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you
Dude,
could
the
like
top
rank
8, it
rank
was
your
like-
friends
When
and
I had
stuff on
friends
there.
that were like, dude, are you serious? Like, I'm 7?
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, like, it changes,
Dude,
man.
it's so
It
sick.
changes.
You're not. You didn't quite make the top 8. but,
Right.
like, you were close. I promise you were close.
But then with like the HTML stuff, you could like put in like a different type of code or whatever, and you could expand your
To
top
top
8
20.
to like 20.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think they actually changed it in the platform eventually. But
Yeah.
It was interesting how they would allow you to, like, really create your own page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just. I think it was before.
They were ahead of their time.
They were ahead of their
Yeah.
time, but I think a little bit too ahead of their time
Yeah.
because
No one understood.
allowing people that didn't like code or
Didn't
build
know.
websites
Right.
to like just copy paste random HTML things that they would find
yeah,
that like
It looked
that
like
it's dangerous
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
like doing kind of now like the technologies now like building a website is as easy as like dragging and dropping stuff
yeah.
but back then it was still a little too complicated, and I think people would like not take advantage of it. They would just do it incorrectly and like copy pasting the same picture over and over, like to the
Yeah.
point that it would take forever to load.
Right.
And once the loading times got to the point of like, well, this is never going to load, like they they started finding other social media
Scrap
networks.
yeah.
But boy, great concept.
Yeah, very
Even
good.
my wife,
Yeah.
like my wife started off, she was on like the country charts on there too,
Yeah.
like on the Unside country charts, and it just like it helped everybody grow a fan base, and now it's just really, really become a lot more difficult as an independent artist. I mean, now it's getting a little easier, but
Well, it's very saturated.
yeah, it's so sad. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also
have to
true. It was a
figure
lot
out-
harder to get music recorded back then.
Oh, yeah.
Than it is now, and then it's like anybody with like a YouTube channel and an interface can like
That's what I was about to
You know.
say. You track everything. And
yeah. Yeah,
It's a blessing and a curse, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm like, I love to see people like involved in music and,
Yeah.
and putting out great music, but it's
Was Fall for You part of that?
Fall-
that first that MySpace project.
no. So that I mean, it was part of that. So that was Secondhand Serenade, but the first album I put out was an acoustic album.
Okay, and it was,
That's
okay,
all I had
yeah.
time for and money
Right.
for. But like,
Yeah, that's another cool thing about your start is like you pretty much did it with you and your guitar.
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah. It was all acoustic, and then the second record, that first record, that's what led me to getting a deal.
yeah.
So and that so I met my my manager actually through like MySpace message.
Oh
Right.
wow.
Funny enough, but he was a producer on like some of the like MTV shows, and he knew about the business, but he wasn't really managing quite yet. But I just needed somebody that like I first like had like this guy trying to like do some sort of production deal with me, and I didn't like it, but I wanted somebody else to look over it. So I hit him back up and I'm like, hey, you want to just take a look at this for me and see what you think? And then, obviously he shared his like,
Very honest. Opinion.
yeah. And he was like, yeah, it's not good. I'm
This
like,
is
I didn't
trash,
think so.
yeah.
I'm like, I would never end up making money with this deal, but it was,
Yeah.
there's a lot of those like sharks
Oh, yeah.
trying to get you early on
And,
too.
and
Like-
early on, you'll take just about any deal you can get just to keep
Yeah.
making music. Or
Yeah,
a lot of artists
exactly.
will.
Yeah,
But,
or,
you
or
know-
to get your foot in the door in
Exactly.
the first place.
Yeah. But like I had the leverage that I was actually doing well and it was supporting my family. And so
Yeah.
I was like, unless I got the right deal, I was
Right.
I'm good.
not doing anything. And but then that record and that manager basically led to me getting a deal with a great company, great guy, Daniel Glass with Glass Note Records.
Yeah.
So he actually started the label with me,
Oh wow.
Wow.
which is wild. So he had just he's a longtime record guy.
Yeah,
He,
that's
like,
what I was thinking. He's pretty.
he discovered Sinead O'Connor, Vanilla Ice.
Yeah.
I mean, like the list. He started Universal Records before it was called Universal Records.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like he was like him and I guess some other guys started a record label and sold it to Universal, and that later became that. But he's a very very intelligent guy, and he like really believed in my music.
I mean, pretty legendary. Actually,
When he saw that I was playing a showcase at the bitter end, we had like label guys come, and then he went and talked to me after I played, and he was like really impressed. And he had a few of his interns with him, and he was just like, how do I work with you? And I'm like, well, I'm looking for a label deal because I want to try to grow this. And he's like, okay. And then he kept on talking to my manager over the course of a few months, and then was like, if I started a label and got distribution, I think at that point it was distribution through Warner Brothers, and we got all the funding set. Like, would you be willing to sign with us? I'm like, yeah, under the right circumstances, yeah. And he got all that stuff done. Like, I mean, he worked his ass off, got everything together, got distribution set, flew to San Francisco for the day. He flew back later that night, but flew just in for lunch from New York.
Dang.
And then sat with me at lunch and put his phone down, and he had his CFO Scully on the line, Chris Scully, and he pressed speakerphone. And he's like, hey, so tell John the good news. And he's like, okay, yeah, we closed it with Warner Brothers. We have distribution set up
Wow.
for the label. And I was like, all right, well, these guys seem like they are working their ass off on this, and they seem like they believe in me. So we ended up going with them, and they crushed it. Like and then we did Twist of My Story with them, which was the album that Fall for You was on.
right.
And man, and boy, did they blow up. That label
Yeah.
ended up signing Mumford & Sons,
That's what I'm saying, Glass
Temper
Note's
Trap,
huge now, yeah.
Phoenix, Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
I mean, among many others.
And
But,
you were the
like,
first.
I was
you
the
were
first one. Yeah. I was the first one, which I'm like very, very proud of. Like,
Yeah.
That's
I feel
awesome.
like me and Daniel and Chris and just everybody over there. You know, it feels like family, always has,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
just.
if you were the first artist, they had to use you to sell their deal.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a pretty freaking
It was very like, you know, like mutually beneficial for us. And we came around at the right time for each other, and
That's awesome.
yeah, it was just really great. You know, just came together, but yeah, it's not always that easy. And like, and the deal was great too. Like, it was just a really, really like honest deal, like good shit.
fair,
Like,
and everybody felt good about it. Yeah.
So hard to see that nowadays because like it's nearly impossible to not have a 360 deal anymore, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean that kind of thing is just pretty much standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't think a lot of people in this day and age, and I guess with the landscape and the music business being what it is, realize how important having a label deal back then was, because there are, like we've said a bunch of times on this podcast already, there's now, you know, thousands of different ways to skin a cat. And you have so many outlets. Back then you really had to have that machine with the distribution like you're talking about to truly market and put out music and get it out to the masses, because
You had to get your CDs out.
iTunes didn't exist yet, Apple Music,
yeah.
none of the streaming platforms were around, and it was really hard back then to get a deal. So to do it the way you did it, and it's really, I think, impressive to me, because I feel like I know how hard it was back then to get a deal, especially when so many people are vying for that spot. So for you to be their flagship artist and really help them launch that, and to see what that's turned into now has got to be a pretty cool feather in your cap for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, and I mean it's just, but I mean I feel like that's why it's like I feel like the streaming is why it's kind of changed.
Yeah,
because like it's not generating as much money,
right.
Yeah.
like, you know, as like album sales did,
Right.
And so they have to take a cut of this, they have to take a cut of that, and like.
Well,
That sucks, you know,
it
because
does,
it's like that's, you know, some artists. I mean, until like a lot of artists I know, like I was like very fortunate enough to like be able to recoup my deal, and like I own my publishing and all that stuff. But like a lot of artists just, you know, they're not making anything on the album end.
Yeah.
And then like merch and touring is all they got, and then they don't even have all that anymore,
Right.
which is
because now they're taking a piece of
it's
everything.
hard for everybody, and I understand. You know, on the label side, that like the money has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's why it's kind of this whole new age of like, I'm gonna get my music out through TikTok. It's like I'm glad I got my deal and everything back then, and like, because I'm so bad at TikTok.
Oh, man.
Same here.
I'm horrible at TikTok.
It makes me feel old when I
just
try to do it.
It makes me feel stupid. Like if
Yeah.
I try to do a TikTok, there's not a moment of confidence that I have during that TikTok.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, and sure. Yeah. It makes me feel old a little bit, but no, I think that like, you got to be built for it.
So right now, you're an independent now?
Yeah. Like, I'm independent. I worked with my label on a song, back in 2018. We kind of have a whole thing,
Kind of an open relationship.
where kind of an open relationship. It's like if there's anything that I feel strongly or Daniel feels strongly, like, you know, we could bring this to radio, then like,
right.
Then we'll do that.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of on an individual basis, but otherwise I can just kind of put out my stuff and you know, as often or as not as I want.
Yeah.
But
I know you're doing a lot of producing and stuff too.
Yeah, been spending a lot of time doing that.
Yeah.
I never envisioned myself producing country music when I came here. I came here 12 years ago, and I didn't know a lot about country music then. You know, I knew what other people knew in California. I listened to like pop and rock.
Right.
You know, grew up on all that, and then like after a few years, like absolutely like fell in love with it. Like now it's like all I listen to, like besides like, you know, my own like genre, like, you know, when I go like play shows or like if I'm out sometimes, but like, you know, country's what I listen to pretty much all day, every day. And it's pretty much all what I produce as well.
And you're one of the people I know that like eat, sleep, and breathe music. Like,
Yeah.
You are like the definition of like a man of his craft.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thank you.
I've always respected that about you. Pretty much every time I talk to you, you're working.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. It's nice to finally have like a proper like real studio at home.
Oh yeah.
Because I'd always have like the production studio in a bedroom. Like that's great, and you can make whatever record. You can make a radio ready record, no problem, in a little bedroom. Like
Yeah.
you need nothing but like an interface, a laptop, and a good mic.
Yeah.
But now I feel I can record drums in there. I have a booth. I have like everything that I need. And
Yeah.
so
I know
it's
when you
cool.
were building
I
it.
walk downstairs. I'm close to the baby. I'm close to my wife, and I can come up for lunch.
Yeah.
And that's really
That's
nice.
Yeah, I remember when you guys were building the house and you were telling me about the studio, and I could tell how excited you were. To
Yeah,
get
dude.
that rolling, man.
It was a long
process,
dude.
yeah.
It was 2.5 years
I was
to
like, I
build
don't
the
know
house.
if they're ever gonna move into that house.
Yeah, no, I kept on saying, like 6 months. Oh, 6 months. Because that's what they were telling me, dude.
Yeah.
So, like, they kept on saying 6 months. And then, all of a sudden, it's like over 2 years. Like, along the way, we got pregnant. Then we had the baby. We still weren't moved in. Like,
Right.
so we were living in, like, a little tiny condo. And we, there was no nesting time.
The real
for
estate,
my wife.
the real estate world in Nashville is a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
But it was
these are-
also, like, we went under contract during the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
So, like...
It was limited. What
Everyone
they could
was
probably...
like hunting for wood and like
Yeah.
trying to get supplies. But we got lucky. It finished up, and then it was another, until I got the studio like really done, another like 8 or 9 months, because I had to like do the build out for that as well.
You
So
consider yourself a bit of a gearhead?
yeah. I definitely collect lots of stuff.
Yeah.
For the
Got
studio.
some awesome outboard gear.
Yeah, I have
Cool.
some great outboard gear. I have some of the classics. Like, I mean, like as far as my vocal chain goes, I generally go through like an API mic pre to a LA2A. It's just smooth.
Yeah.
It's always like consistent and pretty much works with every voice.
Yeah.
But then I have like some other stuff that is, I have like an old like Revision F 1176.
Oh, nice.
That I like, and I like that because you can drive that a bit more and give it some color. But
Very cool.
yeah, I do like
your
gear.
mic, what's your mic of choice for your vocal?
I like for my vocal, I've been using an Upton C12 that I really like. That one's probably the one I use the most, and then I have a 251 as well, and that one works great for pretty much anybody. But
Is that a copy or is
it's
it
an Upton,
Telefunken?
yeah.
It's Upton also.
The Upton ones are incredible because they're based off of. We're getting into like nerd gear talk. The Upton 251s are like kind of based off of the vintage 251s, not the new Telefunken ones.
Right.
So and they're really, really nice. So
Nice.
I use that on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, my favorite on my voice is a C12.
Yeah.
We recorded a few records at Blackbird, and John had
It's just
some
crisp
classic,
and warm. It's
crazy old vintage stuff that sounded incredible.
Yeah,
I
they
got
don't-
spoiled there.
They
It's
don't
crazy
come
how
cheap.
cool those old mics sound, dude.
Yeah, they just sound there's the closer to like the less you have to like mess with it,
Yeah.
The simple, keep
the
it.
better. Like if you can get like a really good signal path in with a great mic, you don't have to fuss with it too much, And like I don't mind like even giving a little bit of a compression boost because I know that the gear is solid.
Yeah.
Like if you're not sure about the gear that you have when you're recording, ease up on like the compression and stuff like going in.
Right.
And let mixer do it in post or
For sure.
when you're mixing it, you can kind of tweak it a little bit better. But if you have good gear going in, like give it a little bit of a push.
That's always been my philosophy on everything. Is like you can get it, sounding good sonically on the way, and the mixer's going to be a lot happier too, and have a lot more control to do what they want. So.
Are you guys working on new music?
Oh yeah, we've been kind of for the last year and a half trying to figure out what it is that we want to do, and we've got probably 10, 12 songs finished that, I'm a bit of a perfectionist too. I'll just overmix and just keep revisiting it.
Man.
So
I'm fussing with that stuff too right now.
It's hard to kind of take your ego out of it on the production side, and like, especially being on the labels we've been on, it's always, there's kind of added pressure to make it sound perfect and radio ready. And I think in this day and age, like the more raw, unedited, cool stuff.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot looser with
yeah.
my timing and stuff.
Yeah, same
as
here.
far as my edits. I mean, granted, also depending on the song, but a lot of that's come back. Like it's not that super polished country anymore.
Like Zach Bryan, dude. I mean, it's not
polished
at all.
Yeah.
And I think people are gravitating towards that. It's like they can hear the rawness and the authenticity, and maybe he did record it in a hotel room in Colorado somewhere. And
I mean, I've had people record like acoustic tracks on their fucking iPhone.
Yeah, dude, the mic in the iPhone is incredibly
actually
good.
Not bad. Like you get really. I mean, I've used like that kind of stuff in finals.
Yeah.
But because it gives it like a distinct
sound.
It's not just like a really nicely recorded acoustic.
I mean, I'll use it to sample stuff also,
and
then dump that back in, and
it's,
you can come up with some really cool stuff that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's always I always feel like I'm learning something new like every day in the studio. I mean, it's been I've been working with Pro Tools and working on my music and then other people's music in the past like 5 years, probably for like 15 years.
Yeah,
and like. I've learned everything that I know. I never went to school for it.
Right.
Learned everything that I know from watching
through practice
producers that I was working with and seeing like what incredible stuff that like it's just so out of the box. Like you don't notice it in the track.
Right.
But these like really, really just cool tricks that like add so much to the song, but they're just hidden in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's what it's all about. It's like making something sound whole and full, people don't realize how much goes into just like one song.
Yeah.
And, granted, it used to be enough to like just get one mic or four mics in a room with a band. Like, when you go back to like the 50s and 60s, like recording, it was so archaic. They still made it sound great, but I mean, they were so limited to what they could do. And now because there are no limitations, like, you have to like somehow kind of like stand up with everything else. I mean, I've had, some tracks like with like 40 or 50 tracks, but then some with like 60, 70, 80, 90. I think I've had a couple sessions over 100 tracks in there. Wow. And like, it's just wild.
Yeah.
But I mean,
even the technology is incredible that you can.
That's what I was going to say. The technology just from the 15 years that you've been doing it. Like, geez, like you're completely.
Yeah, it's
different stuff. You're not even using that stuff. That stuff's
there was a few years in there also where it went from more or less what you're talking about they were doing in the 50s and 60s. Like it stayed very consistent for a long time, and I feel like there was a massive acceleration in like the technology and stuff that came out.
Once anything went digital and once Pro Tools was introduced, things changed drastically. And I mean like before that, the 2-inch tape, like the multi-track, when they had like 24 tracks, able to do that. Like it was gradually, kind of growing technologically, but now just like the capabilities are endless.
A lot of layers.
And having you could do a whole
record on your phone. Like you literally have Garage Phone on your
Garage,
phone.
Yeah,
Everybody or GarageBand. Yeah, everyone has GarageBand on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son came to me the other day with little
check this
beat
out.
and thing. I was like, "How did you do that?" And he was like, "Oh, I just did it on my iPad." It's really incredible.
It's crazy. Yeah.
One thing I do like about Pro Tools though is it's changed, and there's lots of features and stuff that they've added to it, but it's also stayed very much the same. Compared to a lot of the other.
That's why I haven't kind of moved on from it because I'm just so like it's like second nature for me.
Yeah,
to
same
work
here.
In it,
if it's broke, don't fix it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I tried out Logic for a little bit, and I remember like Nuendo and some other things came along, and I was just like, I feel like Pro Tools just is the best.
It just works for me. Yeah. It definitely works for me, but yeah, and I taught my wife Pro Tools.
That's cool.
So like she knows how to use it now, and so like when we're when I'm recording like secondhand stuff, or if we're recording like because we have Countryside Project as well. Like we'll just like put each other in the booth and she can track me, like set new playlists, do all that stuff. So like she's like very capable now as well.
That's cool.
That's awesome, man. That's one thing I've always admired about you guys too as a couple. You guys are a team,
Yeah.
And obviously, Tay's good friends with Veronica as well. And we thank the world of her. you guys are you guys still doing any of the Rebel Road stuff?
Yeah, so we took like a little bit of a hiatus. We had a baby, so like
Yeah.
but
Congrats on that as
thank
well.
you. I mean, that was he's turning 3 in May, which is
Wow.
Crazy,
wild, and like time flew so fast. But that definitely, I'm glad that we were like comfortable enough to be able to slow it down a little bit, because I really wanted to be there as much as possible, like
For
especially
sure.
in those first like couple years. But now he's getting a little older, and we have a handful of songs that we are going to be releasing. I'm about to send them to mix probably next week. I mean, they're like just right there. I just need to mix prep and set myself at ease that it's done. Like a song's never done.
No.
It's only 90% done.
Yep.
It's only ever going to be 90%
90%
done.
done,
And if you keep on obsessing for it to be 100% done, you're never going to get there.
Right.
And
you may mess it up along the way.
Yeah, and you may mess it up. Like, so like you have to be okay with 90 and then just send it.
Yeah.
But so that's how we are. Like that's where we are with the new Rebel Road stuff.
You guys, didn't you propose on stage?
I proposed on stage.
How was that? Were you nervous?
I was nervous. She didn't want me to. I didn't know she didn't want me to.
Oh, shit.
We were in Vegas, and literally like, oh man, so much stuff happened. This is a crazy story.
Let's hear it.
All right. So we're in Vegas. We're on tour. We drop into Vegas for a couple days, just kind of on 2 days off. So we did like an overdrive to get to Vegas. So, we paid the extra with the bus driver so we could get there early just to hang out.
Yeah.
Spent a couple days in Vegas, and then we had a show in LA. And in LA is where I was going to meet the jeweler, who made her ring, and she didn't know I was proposing. And then I was basically like, "Hey babe, just like wait on the bus. I have like a few errands to run. I have to go run out." She's like, "I'll come with you," and I'm like, "Nope." Like, no. I'm gonna be right back. I just need to like do a few things, just get some rest. Like that was hard enough to sell. And then so I went and got the rings. We played the show, and then we went back to Vegas. So we spent 2 days in Vegas. Went to LA. I got the rings. Went back to Vegas for 2 more days. Then we have the show coming up, and her nails were all just like ratchet. Like they were so bad, because it's just like she's been on tour and just like shit and playing and like everything.
Yeah. Oh, it's hard on your nails.
And like, it's terrible. And I was like, okay, like I'm gonna propose. She's gonna want to take pictures with her ring, and my tour manager suggested like, okay, I'm gonna tell her that like we're gonna be doing like signings, and like that she's gonna have to sign, and we're gonna be like filming at this show, that like, so you don't want to be signing with like, you want to get your nails done. So we like convinced her to get her nails done, which was like about as half-assed of a excuse as he could get away with. But
she's a pretty intelligent
she was like, okay,
woman.
well that's kind of weird, but whatever. And then like she was just like wondering what to wear, and so I while she was showering, I went downstairs. We were at like the Wynn we were at the Hard Rock. Back at the Hard Rock, because I was playing at the Hard Rock, and there was a shop, like a boutique. So I borrowed this like really nice like white romper type of thing, her kind of style at the time, and it was like really, really pretty. And so I borrowed this white romper, and I like laid it out on the bed, and I'm like, here, I got you something to wear. So like it's white,
it's
proposing
perfect.
and all this shit. And so so we do that, and then we're going to play the show, and I have the ring in my pocket of another leather jacket. And she's like talking to me, like, hanging out backstage, and like she like brushes her hand against. She's like, "What's that in your pocket?" Because it's like it's a box,
right?
It's like a square like cube box in my pocket, and I'm like, "Shit, nothing. Like it's nothing. Whatever. It's a surprise. Get the fuck out of here." Like, I was like, "This is way too
Stop
stressful.
making this more hard
It's
than
way
it
too
is."
stressful." And she's like. And then she talked to her sister, and she's like, "I hope he's not going to try to propose to me on stage."
Oh, shit.
And then her sister calls me, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, but like, don't propose to her on stage." And I'm like, "Well, sorry, like everything's in motion. There's photographers already, like at the front. There's all these people, like there's champagne coming for us. It's happening." So like, and I basically like asked for her blessing, because her parents were on a cruise at the time, so I couldn't like call them. So I talked to her sister and talked to her brothers and stuff, and
That's cool.
and did that, and then I proposed, and it was wonderful, and she was, she obviously said yes, and we're very happily married. So
Well,
it worked.
That's one
awesome.
of those when you ask in a public setting like that.
Oh, it was very.
You gotta pray. Like if they don't say yes, it's the worst day of your life.
I was pretty absolutely sure that she was
Yeah.
gonna say yes, but like I wanted. She just like gets shy about that kind of stuff, I guess. But then again, she plays on stage.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
so,
But it's pretty. That's pretty romantic.
But
You
yeah,
bought
but
her an outfit
but the
and-
story's not done.
Oh boy.
So we end up going to, at the time there was a club called Beecher's Madhouse. It was kind of the type of place where they do like kind of circus acts and like random like crazy shows and stuff, and it's
Right.
like a nightclub. And so we went to nightclub with a few of our close friends, and basically watching like we're partying, having a good time, and we're watching. Oh, Cisco was in the crowd that day, like at one of the tables, and there was a little Cisco doing like a Cisco routine on stage.
Like a midget.
Yeah, like a little, a little person.
A little
Cisco.
person. A little Cisco.
It was a little person Cisco, like doing a
So I'm
show on
picturing
stage,
this.
and so Cisco goes up and they do it together, and I'm like, this is the coolest.
This is incredible.
This is incredible, and they're both so good, and I was like, wow, I was like blown away. We were all hanging out, and then Veronica goes to the bathroom, and then I don't see her for like an hour passes, hour and a half passes. It's like getting to like, I'm like, okay, I need to go find her. Club's almost closed. I like went and basically like the restrooms were kind of like outside, and like there was a bench, and I went by the area where the restrooms were, and I just like sat on the bench and I was waiting. And I guess I'll get to her story in between. So what happened with her is she was walking and walked by a bouncer, and the bouncer said, "Careful," and she said, "What?" And she slipped and she fell down and got back up, and she's like, "No, I'm fine." He's like, "No, you're not." She's like, "No, yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Girl, no, you're not." Like, and she was covered, her white romper was covered in throw up because she slipped in throw up, dude, on the way to the bathroom. So she goes to the bathroom. She's crying, like bawling. There are these like social workers on vacation in the bathroom, like offering their dresses, like trying to clean her up and stuff.
Wow.
And like just being really, really sweet. But somehow like she gets all cleaned up, whatever. I'm waiting for her for hours. It's like 3 a.m. at this point. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. I'm like calling everybody. Like I head back out to the bus. And I get to the bus, and she's just sitting there, like drinking with everybody, like on the bus. And I'm like, what the hell happened to you? So I guess she went out the back part of the bathroom to like
wow.
leave, and I was just sitting there waiting for like an hour after the club closed. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
that
At
was
least you got to see Little Cisco perform
little Cisco with
Big Cisco.
That's incredible.
Oh my God!
I've
yeah.
seen Mini Kiss before,
Oh yeah,
and they're
little-
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they crush it. And I mean, they're not cheap to book either. I've booked
No.
them before. I was like, those guys are like $30,000 a
No,
Yeah.
not at
show.
all. The guys, those guys actually went and they did some stuff over at East Ivy with we met them one time.
That's cool.
They're incredible.
They're
Like,
wild,
they're
yeah.
so talented too.
Super talented.
Crazy, but
It's like
but
makes
yeah.
you wonder how they. Is that fucked up for me to say? It's like, bro,
Maybe a little
You
bit.
do that with his little fingers, like
I mean, dude, I can't play a mandolin
right.
because I got these fat fuckers. So like, you try to get me to play a mandolin, like it's just it's so hard. For
Dude,
me.
that's why I feel like it was so odd that like when you see somebody playing a mandolin, it's like a huge Hawaiian guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, how do you do that with those fingers?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah, it's like I mean that's a really difficult instrument for me. I got the ukulele though. Like,
That's cool.
I can do
Or I
that.
guess that's more of the Hawaiian instrument,
Yeah.
right? The ukulele.
Yeah.
the
I mean, there's
mandolin.
some bluegrass guys that are
Oh,
big,
yeah,
big
tons of
old
ukulele,
dudes
like-
Yeah.
with big fingers that still get around a mandolin just fine.
Yeah. I know a lot of mandolin players that they just it's harder because it's the eight strings.
Yeah.
So it's like the doubled up strings.
Oh,
And you have to
yeah.
push extra hard
Yeah.
to really do that, and it's just the frets are just tiny. So
Yeah, mandolin is not my strong
But when
suit.
we're spoiled with the musicians in this town, like
we have the
we've
most talented
It's
people in this town.
unbelievable.
In the
world.
It's
In the
incredible.
world, yeah. Honestly, in one city, I feel like this has more talent.
And so many that are just at that upper
At the
echelon
at the
that
top
are
level
just,
is who I'm talking
yeah,
about. Like,
just the best of the best, and
Yeah.
there's so many of
we
them here.
we talked about how it's so good here that everybody pushes the level of each other up constantly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's also the community itself is so really unbelievably good, is because everyone's always constantly raising the bar. And you know, you can't find. I mean, the best studio musicians in the world live here.
Yeah.
For a reason. You know.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Galloway, he's my first and foremost like a good friend of mine, but also he's my
North Carolina boy.
Yeah, works does my utility stuff, does my electric stuff. He's just, I mean, incredible. He's up for acoustic player of the year again this year.
I don't think
He won last year.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's my favorite acoustic
Yeah,
player out there.
he's,
I mean, when I met him, like I had hired him a couple of times just to play the league, like electric guitar for us live on the road, and we realized that we knew all the same people from North Carolina.
Oh, yeah,
But,
yeah.
I mean, I'd swear up and down that I think he's the best acoustic guitar player in this town.
It's cool to see guys making their careers on the fact that they're great players now. Yeah, like Marcus King and
Oh yeah, well a lot of the
Billy
like
Strings and some of these guys, like they're really better players first.
that's another thing that I've noticed about Nashville versus other cities is that the writers and the musicians are getting like in some cases like as much like popularity
Attention.
and stuff attention as like the artists as well. And so
Which is great.
That feels like incredible to me, and it should be that way.
Yeah.
It always should have, because like they're the ones like really
Creating art.
Yeah, and in some cases, like a lot of artists are they're writing some songs and maybe like just picking some songs that they like that other writers did, and they're not getting a chance to be too much in the studio because all the players are like doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so like when people are involved that much in the project, they should get praise.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
and they should
I
get that
agree.
attention that they deserve. And yeah, Tim's definitely one of those guys. Yeah, we have just incredible musicians here.
Well, and just engineers, like I used to have Brett Blandon Scoop. He was my I paid him $100 a night to run sound in Hollywood Disco.
Yeah.
And then fast forward, like I think 5 years after that, he's running sound at the Grammys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just
He was Lady A's
Lady A's
front of house guy for a while.
Forever, yeah.
That's how when I met him.
pretty much
around
from
that
their
time.
beginning till I mean, probably before they dropped the Antebellum.
Yeah.
Like right around.
Before they dropped the Antebellum.
I was talking to somebody the other day.
Still a ridiculous thing to me.
Back to what you were saying about having the ability to have 100 tracks on a session or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's in this day and age, like some of the best producers I've found are the ones that can take those 100 tracks and still make it sound like it has so much space.
Exactly.
And
And
room to breathe. And I think
mush.
that's the real art when it comes to that.
I've spent a lot of time trying to do that, is to create that like space and dynamic in songs. And some songs call for like growth and getting bigger, like sonically, and some songs call for a very like, keeping it very consistent and straight. And it just, and that's also up to the producer to decide like what does this song need? What's most beneficial to get this song's point across?
Yeah.
And ultimately, like, you basically have to make it sound like what the song is about.
Right.
And it's such a simple description, but easier said than done.
Very difficult to apply.
Okay, create like sonically and emotionally what you're trying to say in the song. And that's, the most successful songs drive that home in a way that, people just connect with it for that reason. So
yeah, I think it takes a lot of self-control as a producer also. I mean, I know in my case, like you have Tom Bukovac, Jerry McPherson, and Brett Mason on a song, like having the self-control to be like, okay, each one of these guys played an incredible solo, and there's incredible parts layered all over the place. Like, who am I to pull Tom Bukovac's part out of there, like when it's just absolute sonic gold?
Yeah.
But maybe the song doesn't call for it.
Exactly.
And kind of being able to take the ego and like your admiration of that particular player kind of out of the equation and sticking to what the song really needs and what it calls for. It's hard to do.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. Like even when I'm just like fishing through, comps or trying to like comp a guitar part that Tim sends me or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, this is hard.
Yeah.
It's just
I want to put it all in
like,
there.
Yeah, I want to,
so
and then you just end up with like all this stuff everywhere and like, trying to like, and that's the thing. Like pros like him, they don't like overplay.
Yeah.
Like it's like, on one end you could be like, well, I'm giving you a lot of options.
Right.
But it's like they know almost better than you do.
Yeah.
Like what
Tim's a perfect example of
Yeah.
that, because he'll listen to a song and he'll give the song what the song needs
Exactly.
without you even having to ask him for
in
it.
in the places that it needs it.
Yeah.
And
He's so tasteful with how he does that.
But he even told me, he's like, I had a first session once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I bombed my first session.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's hard to believe. He's like, no, dude, like it's true. And it's one of those things. Like it definitely, you can be a player and you could be brilliant, but a session's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of time. I mean, generally, like players will have like an hour a song, maybe.
Yeah.
And they'll be tracking with full band a lot of the time.
Yep.
So like, in an hour, you have to finish a song with basically all the players. So you'll get like, 2 takes through like an acoustic track, then on to the next thing.
Yeah.
On to the next. And so utility players like Tim they're going to have the most tracks, most playtime, because he's playing like 5 instruments or something.
Well, even with him, like a lot of times, let's say Bukovac, for example, he'll have a fix and he'll want to run it one more time. I was always so impressed with how Tim pretty much nails it the first time, and he uses those overdubs to go throw on a different instrument and to layer that stuff. And just, I know for me, like I need hours in the studio to come up with parts and like massage stuff and feel good about it, and it takes forever. So those guys are just a different breed.
Yeah, they are. It's just
they can
so
do it
impressive.
that quickly with that much taste and attention to detail and not get in the way. And it's brilliant. It really is.
Well, it's also a necessity. There's just so much music being like recorded on a daily basis in the city.
It's unreal.
It's just insane to see. He's doing sessions all day, every single day of the week, and then he goes home and he does sessions like at his own studio.
I can't imagine how hard it is not to start kind of phoning it in a sense, and just
where
playing the same thing over and over.
Come from?
Yeah.
It's wild. That's
Well,
just
it's like
so much work.
In any form of entertainment, like being turned on, like as your person, when you got to be John, the lead singer, you got to be Secondhand John. You have to be turned on for that. And to be turned on, like when you're doing so much, it's so repetitive over and over and over again. It's really hard to give that quality, that level of commitment, and
without getting burned out.
Burned out. Yeah, it's really difficult. That's incredible. I know you had there was like a little viral resurgence of Fall For You, or the TikTok videos are coming around. Everybody had their emo hair on and they were singing the song. How did you feel about that?
It's been pretty wild. Like at first I was like a little offended, like, cause it was like, it was,
are they making fun of me?
Funny. But like, and it did like went over the top. Even just now, one of the UFC dudes like sang it at a press conference. Like it's been very, very crazy. You kind of see it everywhere. But then I kind of looked at the dude's page that did that original, the original thing. And he did pretty much every emo artist.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so he listened to emo. He was just doing it was like a funny thing.
Yeah.
But like but that one's the one that like
popped,
blew up, and now like, it's.
Do you have people like coming up to you doing it? Like, ever?
I've definitely had people do that. Yeah. But
did it give you a boost as far as streaming?
Yeah. Well,
goes?
I think I think the biggest boost that it did is kind of like remind people of that music.
Yeah.
That genre is like, it's a really important genre because it's like a very, very community based. Yeah. Like it's a lifestyle, not just a genre of music.
Right.
And like, it just like brought people together.
Yeah.
But now like it's brought more people together. Like it's kind of started a resurgence.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing much more of these festivals, like the rock festivals, and all over, like every summer, and like emo nights all over the country.
Right.
And
Well, it's an iconic song in my opinion. Like it's one
Yeah.
of those like as soon as you hear it, you immediately recognize it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
I
everyone
agree.
knows it. Like like I was an athlete, when that song come out, and I still
Yeah.
I liked it. It wasn't something that would typically be on my playlist, and I
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
wasn't emo in any way. But I know every word to that song. I was kind of funny. And I've definitely never told you this, but like when we first met you guys, I remember telling my wife like, I can't fucking believe that's the guy from Secondhand Serenade, because like I was a little starstruck, because I was like, dude, that to me that is it's a pop culture, phenomenon. That
Yeah.
song itself, it's such a cool song and so well written, and obviously it's done pretty well for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Not all
think
your music is great, no doubt about it. Do you feel sometimes like that having such success with that one song and it being such a viral and such a big thing, especially online, and that's where everybody goes for their music now, that it overshadows some of the other stuff that you've done?
Honestly, no. I mean, I feel so blessed to have had a song like that. I feel so blessed to just be able to play music for a living. I mean,
Yeah.
this is
That's what my wife says. Tay
it's
just wants to pay her bills with music. She's like, I
yeah.
don't care if I'm famous. I don't care
No,
if I'm
it's
rich.
the greatest. I honestly don't want to be famous.
Famous
I don't
for
want to
what?
be any more famous. Like I want to just like when I go over to Asia, it's the shows are much
Yeah, you
bigger.
have a
Like
massive following over
they're
there, and you
they're
do you do quite a bit of touring over
yeah.
there.
So they're like I have to do like security and stuff, and the situation is much different than it is here. Uh, and I would never want to have that like be my whole life. I mean,
Yeah.
like I love the touring for a few years, like nonstop and like doing all that stuff. But I also just, I love
Being with
my
your wife and your
family.
kid.
I love
and-
my family, and I
Yeah.
love like being able to like, and that's another thing I like about Nashville versus like Los Angeles. There's no such thing as paparazzi here.
Right.
We don't have any of that.
Yeah.
So like artists, like you see bigger artists like out, on Broadway or Midtown or whatever, and they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Fucking Post Malone's been out like all the time, and like
Oh,
he's
he's
not
here,
he's
yeah,
not
he's
he's
here
not
all the
he's not
time.
he's not having any like paparazzi taking photos of him. Like it's like artists are left alone here, and that's just like a really good environment.
And it's odd how it happens, like how do the people that are in that world, like the paparazzi world, or that, I guess, trying to find any picture that's going to be clickbait, why do they come, why do they respect them here? I think it's because of the community here is such a large community. Like,
Yeah.
if you get blackballed, or if you were one of those people and everybody just decided, yeah, we don't mess with them anymore.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
I mean, I also think it's just because like Nashville's built off of music,
The values
Yeah.
are different
and like,
here. Yeah.
and I feel like 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's just like a higher level of respect, and like it's like we don't need all that shit.
We
here.
protect it. So
Yeah.
that's funny. I was tell my wife and I went to Italy on our honeymoon, and the food obviously in Italy is unbelievable. And then I did some research and found out that their FDA is one of the strictest FDAs in the world. And I was like, well, because people travel here for their food, they're going to protect it. People travel here for the music, like we're gonna Nashville's gonna protect the music. Like they're gonna protect the artists. They're gonna do what they can do to keep this special, cool.
I think
place.
People also understand when they come here, even if they are a fan and they're hoping to see somebody famous out. It's like, well, don't bother them and make it to where it's a point where they don't want to go out, to where you'll never see them again. I think there's an understood level of respect when people come here to respect the culture here, and that's
why
isn't a thing
and
here.
then that's when the fun shit happens, and like somebody jumps on stage like at a bar, and like you get to like, oh, this is Ed Sheeran was just downtown.
Oh, Tootsie's,
Down at
yeah,
Tootsie's,
he was
yeah.
in Tootsie's, yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And like,
where else would that happen?
yeah, exactly. Where else would that happen?
I
but
can't
Nashville?
remember. I think you did a show or played around or something at Whiskey Row, and you did Fall for You, and I distinctly remember some girl on the left side stage yelling, "I lost my virginity to this song."
Yes.
And I was like thinking, I bet he's heard that a few times.
I've heard it a few times.
Yeah.
I've heard it a few times, and that's great.
That's nice, dude. You get to be with all these ladies at this special,
I mean, you know.
special, painful, probably painful moment.
Oh man, that's funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
you know, like it's you know, I write love songs, I write sad songs. It's just like that's a thing. But we were talking about like whether or not it overshadows my other music. Fuck no.
Yeah.
I have the fans that know the whole catalog.
Yeah.
And I do have like actually a really good sized fan base that knows the full catalog more than I'd think. More than I'd think here. But in Asia, it's like they'll sing every word to every single song. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, they'll get really excited about "Fall for You," but they'll get just as excited for "Your Call" or for like other songs. And so, like, I don't feel like it does because you know, I'm writing, especially the music now. I'm writing for me and for the people that are already fans. Yeah. And like, you know, I if I do get some new fans along the way, that's great. But I'm not shoving it down people's throats.
Right.
Like I'm just letting it grow organically and like, you know, have hopefully, you know, new people learn of me, and that's great. But I'm so incredibly fortunate to have gotten the fan base that I do to this point.
And I think, you know, that helped you reach all those people and pull them in, you know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you got to be grateful for that, for sure.
So, you said something earlier kind of to the effect of, like, it's a very important genre. And, I mean, for me, if I think back to it, I mean, it's kind of, I feel like that genre format was kind of the soundtrack of like my high school and college years. I mean, I remember starting hearing Dashboard for the first time and then hearing your stuff. Like, I mean, do you have a sense of pride, I guess?
Oh, absolutely.
Just because of how that music shaped so many people's lives and how many people related to that? Because it's really the first time I remember hearing acoustic guitars and, again, super emotional songs and lyrics that, I mean, one of my best friends from, you know, my whole life, like, he'll call me up and just start screaming one of those songs on the phone to me. He's like, "You remember this shit?" Like, yeah, I mean, it literally changed my life in a way. Dude, so, I mean, it's got to be pretty cool.
Of people that didn't really have like a genre talking.
Yeah,
to
it was like there was a lot of different stuff, and I mean, you know, you could talk back as far back to like Saves the Day and Get Up Kids and earlier bands like that. And like I listened to this music and I listened to like Newfound Glory and I listened to Yellow Card, like, you know, and I listened to all these bands, and that like just every single one of them like inspired me to a certain point. Like I even like before like I put out my first album, I was listening to Red Jumpsuit Apparatus.
Yeah,
and they were like blowing up on radio, and like now they're like some of my closest friends. That's like, you know, and I do tours with them all the time. I was in Asia with them for a couple weeks.
That's awesome.
Back last August. And like, it just like comes full circle. And now I'm playing with all these bands that like, you know, I looked up to so much, but like we're peers. Yeah. And like, so what you felt, I felt the same thing to the artists that like predated me, and like, and now we're all just kind of doing, you know, all in it together, and it's just incredible. I'm going out to playing a few shows in Asia with Boys Like Girls in May, so that's going to be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And I love those guys as well. I mean, it's just it's like belonging to like the cool club.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it seems like it's a pretty exclusive club too.
I mean, but you know. But all the artists, like, it's like there's something about the music that hits different.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, and I think that shows in the songwriting and the melodies and the performance even. And I think, at least in my world, that's something country lacks a lot of the time. It's just kind of people going through the motions, singing very vanilla
but you're
melodies
hearing some emo
and
stuff on country now.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And like I appreciate. Well, I mean, even the new Rebel Road stuff.
Yeah.
That me and my wife are putting out, it's pretty like. I mean, it's definitely country and it's super organic.
That's
I'm
awesome.
not like going like crazy pop production on it. We're like it's all about like great performances, like great instrumentation, and they're sad songs, man. Yeah. They are.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking there's really, in my lifetime, only two genres that have popped up that kind of did what that did, and it's the emo and the grunge.
Yeah.
Grunge was the other that kind of just reached a group of people that didn't have anything really talking to them.
Yeah.
And they're kind of
Yeah.
somewhat similar.
And I also
you
think
know?
people that don't necessarily want to admit that genre influenced,
Hey,
what they're
now
doing
they
now.
do. It
Like
used to
for a
be
while, it was a little
it
controversial
used to be super
and
derogatory. It's like, oh, like you're emo. Like it
Yeah.
was just like people would make fun of it a lot, and that's why I think that like the people kind of just like band together and form this like great community, and now like they still do emo nights. Like Emo Night LA does 3 or 4 nights every weekend, like every Friday, every Saturday,
cool.
like around the country and even like overseas,
Wow.
and like all my last like 4 that I did like were in like Midwest a few weeks ago, sold out every one, and it's
That's
basically just a DJ. The DJs like come there and just like get everyone so pumped up and play like the best playlists and like the best songs like
Right.
for everybody, and then they have like a special guest come up for like a couple songs, and then I do a bunch of these. I know Travis from We the Kings does a bunch of them. There's a lot of artists. Tom from Play White Tees I know has done a few. But they just pop up.
That's
I'm
cool.
surprised that fans would like, and like they sell out, and people just
Yeah.
want to listen to their music
Right.
with like other people that want to listen
Yeah.
to that music.
It's awesome.
And just like drink beers and have like a great time. And it always is like whenever you see videos of these shows, they are wild.
Really.
Like it's so full of life. Like everybody's so happy. Every photo captured like is always like you couldn't see a room of happier people.
Yeah.
Like it's wild, which is ironic because it's emo
Everybody
music.
thinks
Well, you said earlier you play 2 songs and it's more you're going for the party
yeah,
and for the
yeah,
experience.
we're going for the party and
than-
spending it with them, and like that means so much.
Well, I think the
Yeah.
music's a release for them. Like that's you're gonna feel happy when you can let it out.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
get to let it out. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
and especially at this stage of life, it's like if you can go somewhere and hear songs that take you back to a place where you were a lot happier, or even just brings back just cool memories.
It brings joy, man. It
it's
brings
hard to
me
find,
joy.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I end up just having a great time with everybody there, and
That's
I
awesome.
mean, couldn't be better. And because it's not structured like a regular show where
Right.
it's like I'm in the green room, I take stage,
Yeah.
and I do that, and then whatever. Like I just end up in the crowd with all them.
That's
And
awesome.
then I invite like people up on stage with me, like
That's cool.
for Fall for You, and everybody's
Right.
it's just a great time, and I love feeling that connected with, the fans that do come to those shows. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you think that kind of that emo thing is? I don't know. I feel like everything's cyclical and it's come back a few times.
Yeah,
it seems
yeah.
right now that it's bigger than it's been since the early 2000s.
yeah, it really is right now, and I think that certain types of music, like will always stick to people, especially like this generation, but even the new generations coming to the shows. You see lots of like teenagers, like 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds coming to these emo nights, and like
cool.
it's just like a whole new like generation. Like these kids, because their parents listen to
Right.
this
Well, and
music.
I think the online presence and the streaming, as much as we've had conversations where I think streaming is terrible for the writer, and you guys should get paid way more for the streaming.
Yeah.
It's insane, but it also that those kids can find you easily.
Yeah.
Where if
True.
25 years ago, like
True.
somebody that age, like where the hell are they going to go find a Secondhand Serenade CD to learn all
True.
that music? Like now it's really simple.
It was harder. Yeah, now it is. You're absolutely right. It's much easier. We had the sweet spot when it was iTunes, but selling albums.
Right.
Yeah.
There was like a nice
Oh
little
yeah, because
sweet
you had to
spot
buy
there.
the
You had to buy the album or buy the song.
single.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, streaming's the gift that keeps on giving. Like no matter how many times you listen to a song, it always but like you'd have to listen to a song a lot of times to make $1.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
we
it's crazy.
had
and
a-
generally you won't listen to songs that many times.
Right.
So like it's still evened out to definitely getting a little bit more out of the album sales and stuff. But
yeah.
But I think the fact that generation, or at least our generation, I discover something and felt like I almost had ownership of it in a sense. Like, no, this is mine. I found it, and I'd want to tell my friends about it. And I think this generation is using streaming platforms to discover music and kind of take ownership of that. And I think that artists can build really solid fan bases because of that. And
I mean,
you might not be getting paid a ton from the streaming,
the
but
playlisting is great. Like I think the playlisting and some of the curated playlists are pretty incredible. I do appreciate when people form their own playlists.
yeah,
That's helpful too.
Yeah,
sure.
and you know, like I feel like it does have that aspect of it down. You know, it's always going to come down to like pay scale stuff.
Yeah.
And always come down. I feel like I guess the connection with socials could be a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just like MySpace was seamless.
Yeah.
But that's never going to come around again.
Right.
And even like, it's just.
Well, it's still there. People just don't use it.
It's still there.
Yeah.
People don't. Yeah, but it's not really like.
It's not
I
what
tried
it
to log
was.
in like.
Yeah.
It's in shambles.
Yeah, it is.
Didn't Justin Timberlake buy it?
He
years
bought
ago?
it, yeah, I think for like $20 million or something.
Yeah.
Eh.
Well,
You know.
maybe I'll still do something.
Maybe out of
with it
nostalgia,
again.
like if
Yeah.
I could, I'd buy it.
It's
Just like
pretty crazy. I think he spent more on the golf course he's building out here
Yeah.
than he did on MySpace,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
bonkers.
Yeah, that's wild.
yeah, but it just
Because
people,
at
people
one
moved
point,
on.
I think Tom's doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom's doing pretty well. He's just chilling. I think he's like a photographer now or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just chilling.
he's a photographer, definitely.
Yeah.
He popped
I
up
always
somewhere.
kept him in my top 8 though. I never,
Yeah, I
never
don't
got
think
rid of
he-
him.
I don't think you could remove him.
Couldn't get him out of there.
Yeah.
I tried.
That was the boss's move. It's like, okay, yeah, you can put whatever top 8 you want, but I'm one of them.
I have to be in there.
I have to be one of them. Oh
Yeah,
my
at least
god.
Zuckerberg didn't do that.
Yeah.
True. Well, who knows? He may have tried and then
Yeah.
voted
I don't
me
know.
down.
There's a lot of things, but hey, it's like we're dealing with all new things, and there's always something new coming out, which is I will say, like, we have a lot of forms of promotion, self-promotion and stuff out there for musicians that want to get their music out, and it's all about finding the way that works for you, I guess, because
When you do your touring in Asia, are you flying? Are you in a bus or?
oh yeah, I'm flying.
Yeah.
Like Southeast Asia
'Cause
is
it's
like
so big,
like
yeah.
thousands of islands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we'll fly. I think so. This time I'm flying to Manila for a show in the Philippines, and then Cebu in the Philippines, then Singapore first, I think. Singapore, and it's all just different islands.
And so are you playing like amphitheaters and?
Yeah, I mean,
stadiums or-
yeah, we're playing like an arena. The first in Manila, I think. Yeah, it's
Dude, I'm gonna
big.
have to. We're gonna have to make a trip with you guys.
Make a
one
trip,
time.
dude. They're incredible fans. They're super supportive of the music. They love American music, and they sing even if they can't speak the language very well. They
I have
sing all
a
the words.
I have a friend who opened a bar in Thailand, and he's American, obviously, and he like imports Bud Light, and
Right.
they
Yeah.
think it's the greatest freaking thing in the world. And he's like,
Wow.
dude, they love Americans over here. They
Are the
love-
fans over there pretty respectful?
Yeah, super respect. I mean, they will like if you give them an inch, they'll take a foot, like
Right.
a little bit. Like if they have a chance to take pictures,
With
it'll be one of
autographs and
those
pictures
things
and
like,
stuff.
okay, so, yeah, I'll take a picture, but then they'll like circle back and want more.
Right.
So like that's the only thing that happens. But otherwise, like I mean, they're great and very very. I mean, they're very respectful, but just really excited.
Right.
So that's the only thing. But they're just everyone's lovely over there and it's beautiful. It's always
Yeah.
like great trips.
You got some stuff planned here in the States this year too?
Yeah, I've got some. I'm gonna be announcing some festival shows this
Awesome.
summer. More festival shows and then ton of like one-off like
Yeah.
emo nights and I'm going to also looking at fall to do a run of like weekend warrior shows to
Nice.
promote new record that's
Hell
coming
yeah.
out. So
With Veronica?
well, that's good. So
Oh, okay.
I have that and then a new secondhand
Nice.
Serenade record as well.
Nice.
Very cool.
So I'll start releasing that fairly soon. I think in the next few months we're gonna.
Your
drop the
last
first song.
secondhand project was that 2017-ish?
Yeah, something
The
like
10
that.
years
I
and
mean,
10,000 tears?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like a re-release of the first album.
Okay.
And it had 2 extra songs. It was like a remixed, remastered.
Oh, cool.
Because when I originally put that record out, it was, well,
That's the one you made
It-
by
yeah,
yourself,
yeah,
right?
by myself.
Yeah.
So I had it remixed and remastered, a little bit polished up, and then added a couple new songs.
Yeah.
And then since then, I did like a few singles, just like few song drops. But yeah, new record is finally coming out, and I'm really excited about
Hell
that.
yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's one of those things to stay tuned for.
Yeah, be looking out for him, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had one last question. Was the touring kind of at like your peak, and I guess kind of in the mid 2000s? I guess was the crazy rock star stories that you hear from the road.
The peak was
was it just
like
wild?
2008 to 2012. Yeah. Lots of crazy stuff happened. Yeah. And I mean, and a lot of it, it's like, and at that point, like you're being pulled in so many directions and doing so much stuff, and you like have like very, very little time off. But yeah, it was one of those things. And like, but like at that point, I was doing like Jingle Ball with like everybody. I was like,
Right.
I was backstage, like, who was Lady Gaga was sharing like like we had our green room split,
Right.
and she was in the next room as us. Like we, literally every artist that you could think of at that time. We like after party. Natasha Bedingfield wore my hat at an after party because
cool.
it was like one of those Elmer Fudd hats.
Yeah.
And so we were just like at the it was like at the DoubleTree, and all the artists from the Boston Jingle Ball went back to the hotel afterwards and just drank.
That
at
was
the
a
bar.
cool party.
It was just
That's
such a
really
cool
cool.
party, man.
Yeah.
Like, because we were just drinking in a lobby bar,
Yeah.
But it was just a wild experience, and so and I mean between that and I mean I lived with like one of my idols, Danny Lohner from Nine Inch Nails. I lived with him for like 6 months.
Fuck yeah.
In
Love 9
in
Inch.
LA in Laurel Canyon because he produced most of my record. Him
Okay.
and Butch Walker. Butch Walker
Nice.
produced a few of the songs as
That's
well.
really cool.
So I mean, and the random people that I would meet through them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was absolutely insane. So yeah, I've been very fortunate to have
Nice.
a pretty crazy career, and I like that
Very successful. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
it's
thank you very much.
awesome, dude.
I mean,
and
it's-
couldn't happen for a better human being. I know you
Thanks,
very
brother.
well personally, and you're one of the good guys for sure.
Well, thank you.
I know you, and I think you help your friends, and like you have a lot of friends in the music industry, and you help them. You're constantly helping them.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's huge, because a lot of those guys, they don't have the resources to go hire somebody with your abilities and all the time, and so you being there for those guys, and I know you've helped, my wife and Gurney, who's on with us yesterday.
Yeah.
It's that shit goes a long way in this community, man. So don't think
I
it
wanna
doesn't
see,
go unnoticed.
dude. I want
that
to
you're-
see all these like and these are people that have become such close friends over the years, and it's like, and originally we all met through music, and I just want to see people that inspire me like succeed, and so
Absolutely.
if I can help with that in any way, that's definitely I'm going to try to do that.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on and hanging out with
Dude,
us
thank
today.
you guys. Thank you very much.
It was
I
a
love
Really
pleasure.
enjoyed it.
talking nerdy gear stuff.
Hey.
And
Well, yeah,
That's my
tour
favorite.
stuff.
So
When you guys got to talking gear, I was
Yeah,
like,
we
I have
could-
no
yeah, we
fucking
could-
clue
we
what
could
they're
talk for
talking
days,
about.
man.
well, most people don't. So when I
Yeah.
get to talk to somebody that does get it and
Yeah.
loves all the same stuff,
Well, I love it.
I
man.
enjoy the opportunity. So thank you
Dude.
for indulging me.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
guys for having me.
Hell
Thanks
yeah.
for coming on, man.
Cool.
Really appreciate it.